Welcome to you all on this WebEx session from Worldwide Field Enablement. This session we will provide you information on the enhancements of our 3-day Partner Bootcamp course, and we will also demonstrate the new Ravello domain that we are going to introduce in combination with this particular course. So the agenda will be the 3-day Partner Bootcamp, the new Ravello domain, and at the end we will tell you a little bit more about what's ahead of us this year, the roadmap of things being added in the instructor-led courses. We will finish with a Q&A. If you have any questions, at the end we will have the questions and answers session. Now I will hand over to Chris Manley. Chris is our course developer responsible for the enhancements of the Partner Bootcamp and also responsible for the architecture and the setup of the Ravello domain that we are now introducing. Chris, you can take it from here.
All right. Hey guys, it's actually nice to see some names that I recognize. For those of you that we got a chance to re-meet or meet for the first time last year in London or Amsterdam, it's nice to have some contact with you again. I'm hoping at some point in the next year or so I can come back and work with you guys again. It should be great. So as Michael was stating, we've been working on updating our materials, and the biggest change, as you guys saw, any of you who have been teaching the Advanced Security 2-day class, we've been moving all of our labs over to Ravello. If you haven't been teaching that class, then you're still probably using the VLab for your exercises for the partners, and we've chosen to fully move everything over to a Ravello environment. And if you're not familiar with Ravello, it is a virtual cloud environment where, just like any other cloud environment, everything is running remotely. And benefits and drawbacks, just so you guys are aware, especially if you've been working in the VLab. The biggest benefit is the students don't have to come in with anything set up. They don't have to have specific laptop requirements of any kind. They just need internet access. So that's a huge benefit. It enables you to get the exercise started right from the beginning, and I think even more importantly, because I had a lot of experience in the VLab myself, teaching classes, people that come in and maybe they've got VLab set up, but they didn't set it up properly, so you need to help them, for the first half of the first day, and it just wastes a lot of time. This way, with Ravello, everybody starts with the same fresh environment, and you don't have to worry about anybody being able to do their exercises. The drawbacks, there's a couple drawbacks. One is you do need internet access, and if you're in an environment where they have a Wi-Fi but it's not a great Wi-Fi, that could be an issue, especially when it comes to performance and the screen drawing on the desktop reaction display, whatever you want to call it, can be slow to redraw itself sometimes. And quite honestly, it's just not as fast as the VLab. So every time you submit something or do anything, it's a little slower. And that's just the side effect. And we've had that experience with any of our virtual environments that we've tried to use. It's not as fast as the VLab. So I still think it's much more advantageous to use Ravello than VLab. Mainly, the other reason is as we increase the classes, there's going to be more images that are needed, big IQ images or 2 big IP images or other back-end images, and it's just too much for people to install on their VLab. So with that being said, I want to start by talking about the new materials and how you can access them, and some minor changes to some of the materials. So I'm going to start by how you're going to access all the new materials. if you have been doing anything in the VLab in the last couple of years, then you should be familiar with coming to our F5 downloads page, and you've always accessed all the VLab stuff from this link here. And only partners, and I believe all of you distributors, have access to this. If they're a customer, they do not see this whatsoever, because customers should not be downloading any of these files. Now when you come in here, you will see that there is a section for Partner Bootcamp materials. So that's something that you guys will use to go in there. And these files, these zip files, are password protected. It's really the only way that I wanted to find a centralized location for worldwide access to store these files. And I still feel like this is the best way to do it. The only problem is every partner can get to this page that I'm showing you right now. Every partner out there, what they can't do is extract the zip file without the password. And we don't want to give that password out. I put as many notes as I can come up with. I've got password protected, authorized users only, and then there's also this README that says please read before downloading. And in that README file, it states very clearly that these materials are for distributors, F5 distributors only. So if you get contacted by any partners that say, hey, can I get access to these materials, the answer is no. Don't give out the password. It's just for you guys. The password is the same as the F5 Ravello domain, which we'll cover in just a few minutes, but I'll show you right here since you can see it. I'm back up here. Move this out of the way there. So that's the password. Once you know the Ravello identity domain, F5WWFE, all lowercase, that's how you access Ravello, and that is also how you're going to unzip the files. So that's the same password. So once you get into that file, inside of there, inside of there, we have several things. We've got the agenda, which I'll show you in just a moment. We've got all the PowerPoints for APM, ASM, DNS, and then a couple of others that you may or may not teach. And you'll notice we've also got LTM fundamentals in here, which I'll explain in just a moment. And then I've also got a full instructor guide on what I'll show you in a few minutes about how to use Ravello to launch your classes and how to use it to test and practice the exercises yourself. And then I've also got a link to some videos, which I'll show you also in just a moment here. Let's start with the agenda, though. So we have made some changes to the agenda. We did this mainly from feedback that we got from a lot of our internal SEs who taught this class, as well as some of the distributors who taught it. And the feedback we got was that a lot of participants came into the class without having completed pre-work. So they didn't do the LTM course online. And so for those that didn't come in having done the LTM course, they're basically starting with ASM or DNS, and it's just they need that fundamental training. So what we decided to do was just make the first day LTM and remove the prerequisite requirement of setting up VLab and doing the LTM fundamentals. They're still absolutely able to do that if they want. In fact, it's still recommended. If they want to set up VLab, it's going to give them the ability to play with this after class. But it's not a requirement anymore to come and take the 3-day partner boot camp. So you're going to be able to cover several sections of the LTM fundamentals, which is basically the same as the LTM fundamentals that is online in F5 University, which I just wanted to show you guys here for just a moment. Let me show you how this looks for partners. There we go, partners. So this is what you guys will see in F5 University, and this is what all of your partners will see. And so one of the things I'm going to talk about today is how you can prepare yourself to teach. So this is the only lesson, the LTM sections. This is the only one where really the best way for you to prepare for this is just to come and review in the training catalog under product and solution training. We've got the LTM fundamentals. This is essentially the exact same material. The only difference is we don't cover all of this in the boot camp. We're only covering about half of it. So you'll see if I go back to the agenda, we're covering lessons 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, actually, no, that's not correct, sorry. Let me pull up that file actually, I don't quite remember. I actually didn't put this one together, my coworker did. So we're covering the install module, processing traffic, stats, load balancing, monitors, profiles, persistence, and SSL termination. We felt that these were the most important LTM concepts for students to get before they are to tackle ASM and APM and GTM, DNS. So that will be what you will teach. So again, to prepare for going through, these slides, and a lot of it you'll notice it has the exact, this is the narration, the speaker script narration from the e-learning. So between watching the e-learning and going through the speaker notes here, you should really have no problem. And plus you guys know this content. You should know this content pretty well when it comes to things like running the setup utility and going in and talking about pools and virtual servers and so forth. So that's the first day, is going through the LTM fundamentals. Then we're still covering GTM, pretty much the same. And GTM, you'll be happy to know, really hasn't changed. The content hasn't changed much. It's just written for V13. But I don't believe there's a lot of changes in the functionality of except the fact we're calling it DNS now. So it's DNS/GTM. I think maybe some of the menus might have changed, the configuration utility menus, but that'll be really easy for you guys to make that switch. And then we've got ASM. Now, ASM hasn't necessarily changed in terms of what we cover. However, there are changes to ASM's configuration, the way that it looks, the way that you create new policies. So everything in Lesson 1 is very similar. I might have added a few more slides that are different from yours. You will note again, I have speaker notes in all of these. So you've got that. You can go through read the speaker notes. And by the way, I always like to share that I don't recommend that you teach the class by reading my notes. That's really just for you guys to get more familiar with the content. So really what's changed the most is I'm trying to remember if you guys even had the learning and blocking settings page before. If not, because it's back in V12, so just forgive me for not remembering my own ASM history, but starting in V13, I believe, which is what we're teaching on, they've made some modifications to quite a bit of the ASM functionality. Not the functionality, excuse me. Functionality hasn't changed much. The way you configure has changed. And the real simplest way to explain the reasoning is the developers have tried to make policy building and management easier. So, for example, on this page, the learning and blocking settings page, that's basically a lot of the things that were on several different pages before, all consolidated into one page. So I definitely recommend when you go through and play with the exercises, you'll get a chance to really familiarize yourself with this. Also, the way that traffic learning has you're managing the traffic learning has changed. When I first saw this change, I wasn't really a big fan of it because I had so much previous experience with ASM. But the more I've played with this, I actually do like it. So the whole screen The whole screen has changed on how you look at the suggestions and how you accept suggestions and so forth. Again, if you go through the exercises and some of the other content that I have for you, you'll familiarize yourself with this fairly quickly. And then the last big change is, do I even have it in here? Oh, I've got it back here. I'm sorry, in Lesson 1. Let me go back to Lesson 1. Here we go. This is another big change. You may recall in the previous version, when you create a new security policy, it's several screens that you have to click next on and next and so forth. You're basically going through a wizard. And in V13, when you create a security policy, it's all on one page. So everything you need is on a single screen. And so those are the three biggest changes with ASM, is how you initially create the policy and then how you configure it with those 2 pages, the learning and blocking settings and the traffic learning page. So you can review that, and I will show you another way that you can review in just a few minutes, another way you can familiarize yourself a little bit more. And then the last thing we cover here is APM, and that has not changed too much. The only big change in APM is the menu system, and I'm not sure why they changed it, but they drastically changed how you access everything in the configuration utility. Once you get to the pages, they look the same. So all of that is in the exercises and screenshots and the slides and so forth. So that shouldn't take too much, learning to figure that out. The main thing we cut out of here, you'll notice, is AFM. And I'm going to touch on that just a little bit. But right now we don't have AFM in the 3-day partner bootcamp. So that's the agenda. All of the PowerPoints are in here: APM, ASM, DNS, GTM, and LTM fundamentals. So another way that you have, in addition to the speaker notes, another way you have to review stuff before you teach is what we did is just a couple weeks ago I was teaching this content at one of our new hire classes, and so we went ahead and recorded all of the lessons. So I've got all of my ASM training. So this is Lesson 1 for ASM, and then over here you'll see I've got Lesson 2. And then I also recorded myself doing Lesson 3. Now you don't actually teach Lesson 3 in the Partner Bootcamp. For those of you that have been doing the Advanced Security class, this Lesson 3 is pretty much the same as the first lesson you cover for ASM in the Advanced Security class. So I put that there for any trainers who want to get a little bit more information about ASM and understand it a little bit better. So we have these videos for all of our content. We have it for, oops, what happened there? There we go. I'm sorry. So we have it for ASM, for all the APM, and the DNS. And then, as I said earlier, if you want to review the LTM stuff, you can just go review the e-learnings on F5 University. And then something else that we just launched a couple weeks ago for all of our internal SEs and also for our partner SEs are a bunch of additional learning tools for ASM, specifically just for ASM. This is something I was working on for about 2 months. And what it is that, and I'll go back over here to the materials here. What it is a series of exercises and demos, all in ASM. Everything that I could come up with that I thought would be useful for you guys to learn, for our SEs to learn, and then to show and explain. You don't have to go through all of these unless you feel that you want to get more comfortable with ASM and be able to speak about it, with more confidence. If you would like to, go through it, I have created this ASM enablement learning plan, and this just goes through all of the exercises in an order that I felt would be best, from easy to more advanced all the way through. So for each demo, it explains what the demo does, what features it covers, and so forth. So that's another file that is in the, where would I go? That's another file that is inside the materials. So I think I've covered everything in here. And then of course, we have the workbook. And the workbook is all written for Ravello. So the very first instructions, tell the students that they're going to access their Ravello environment, and then they're off. So you'll see getting to their environment is very quick. Just takes them a matter of seconds. Once you have spun up all their environments, which is the next thing I'm going to cover. So first, does anybody have any questions about the agenda or the content itself? Okay. Then let me move on to Ravello.
Chris, sorry, I have a question.
Yeah.
This is Gunnar. Regarding the additional ASM training material, we often have the demand for, one-day individual ASM training, just ASM, nothing else. Is this something we could use and, during the training, can we give out the PDFs you created, or is this just internally for us?
Well, okay, that's a great question.
As a lab guide, in individual trainings.
Right. It's a great question, and that's actually next on my list. I am in the process of putting together a one-day ASM training, because I have seen that requested a few times. It actually won't take me very long to put that together, because it's really just a combination of several of the modules. Now, these Ravello, these demos are only for you guys, because these require Ravello access, direct Ravello access, which only you guys are going to have. That being said, if I pull up another file here, the partners, when they go to the downloads page, I told you that all partners have access. Every partner has access to VLab and the VLab files, and the partners have the partner VLab packaged zip file. When they unzip that file and they go to demo guides, ASM, you'll see all of the same demos in here, but these are all written for VLab.
Yeah. I haven't compared it, so if it's the same content, that's fine. And forget my question.
And you can, no, it's a good question. And, I encourage you to put together something that you do think would be good. You can, what I would recommend is to maybe go through some of these. And what's nice about this is you can really sort of tailor make a 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 hour class, because most of these demo guides are only about 15 minutes long. So it doesn't require a ton of time. The only thing that you have to make sure, and I'll go down to the very bottom here, you notice there's a VLab setup. They would still have to come in with that setup ahead of time, so that they've got their big IP ready to go and the LAMP server and so forth. But once they have VLab set up, they can do all of these exercises and demos and so forth. But I do have the plan to create a one-day class for you guys, for the partners, for just ASM. And so you should see that hopefully within the next 3 or 4 months. And what's really nice is, now that we have the Ravello environment, once you guys are teaching classes in Ravello and we give you a new class and we give you the content, we give you, speaker notes and videos, you can probably get yourself up to speed to teach the new class in just a short amount of time. So anyway, good question. Any other questions that I didn't address there? I want to make sure I address all the questions and we have time to get through everything. Okay, so let's talk about Ravello. Probably the most exciting part about this. So again, any of you who are teaching the advanced security class, you've already been using the Ravello environment, but Michael has had to go in ahead of time and get your environment set up for you before your class. And what we have now is our own Ravello environment just for this training program. We're doing this worldwide now, so we have people just like you in America, and we're going to be getting people in Latin America and South America, and our APAC region as well. And we'll all be teaching the same class, the 3-day partner boot camp, the advanced security course, 1-day ASM once it's available. And so Michael has sent you guys all your invitation, and most of you have accepted the invitation, which is great. So you should be able to log in and get to this main screen. And I'm going to pull up real quickly again. Why am I not getting anything here? Strange. Got no applications, but I just want to pull up one more time the instructor notes. I'm not going to go through the instructor notes with you guys, but I do want to point out that pretty much everything I'm going to show you guys here for the next couple of minutes, it's all outlined in here. Everything you need to know from testing these exercises for yourself, going through them yourselves, and getting a new class ready to go and getting your students added to the class, and so on and so forth. So the first thing is, let's say you want to try out, you want to take the exercise guide and test out the exercises, which I recommend you all do. Then you're just going to come to the library blueprints. These are always in order of when they are created. So you'll notice there's 3 PBC. That's the Partner Boot Camp. It tells you the blueprint for 3-day Partner Boot Camp. Always use the one that's higher up, because what we do is we keep some older versions in case one of these gets corrupted or deleted accidentally. So the most current one will always be at the top. And again, the instructions are pretty simply written in that guide. But what you'll do is you'll select that most current blueprint. Then you'll click on Create Application. What the instructions advise you to do is put your name at the end of that application, because every application needs to be, the name needs to be unique. So if 3 or 4 of you are practicing at the same time and you stay with the default name, it won't let the second person create it. So just to make life easier, just put your name at the end of the application. And to do this, it's actually a 2-step process. So that was the first step, is creating the application. Then you have to launch the application, which is called publishing it. So then you go to Publish. And a couple of things you want to do here. One is you want to publish it to your region. So you're going to always go to Performance, and you're going to pick, something that makes sense for you. We're going to be adding some more regions soon, but you guys can play with these different Europes and see which ones are best suited for you. And then also, however much time you think you're going to need, you want to adjust that as well. Please never use never. If we see any applications with never expire, we'll delete them, because we are paying for this. There is a monthly cost for this. We're trying to keep the costs low. So we want to make sure we stop all the applications once we are done with them. That's you guys, your students, everybody. The lower we keep the cost, the more likely we can continue to keep using this. So don't ever use the never option. Put in what you think you need and publish. And then at that point, all the images are going to start up. And it takes about 15 minutes. And those of you that are teaching advanced security, you might be aware of this. It takes about 15 minutes for these to fully launch up. That's just the Ravello thing. Once they're all ready to go, I was going to show you this, and I guess I can't. These would all be green. You could select the jump box. And the instructions tell you this. So again, in fact, let me go to the instructions, since I can't show you in the actual UI. So again, put your name at the end of it, you select Performance, you pick the location. So once it looks green and you select it, then you'll see an IP address, and you copy the IP address, you open up an RDP and put in the IP address, connect, and you're ready to go. And then at the very end here it says, once you're done with this, you're finished the exercises, delete the application. Stop it, and you don't have to stop it and delete it. You'll notice there's a stop option and a delete option. If you're done for the night and you want to play with this some more the next day, then just stop it, and you don't have to delete it. If you're done completely, please delete it. Good for our costs. So those are the things that you'll do just if you want to practice the exercises and so forth. Next is what you will do to prepare a class that you're actually going to teach. So this is a new feature they just added in Ravello within the last month and a half, and it's a great feature. I love it. What you'll do is you'll log in here and then come up to the training platform link. I'm not sure why a single sign-in. Oh, no, it actually worked for me. It may prompt you to log in again. It does that to me sometimes. So the only thing you guys have to do is deal with classes. I've already set up this part right here, the courses. So all you have to do is play with classes, and you'll create a class, and you'll select the correct course, which is based on the blueprints. So you guys probably use the 3-day partner bootcamp. We'll talk about the advanced security at the end of the call here. But you select the partner bootcamp, give it a name. Put in when it's going to take place. So 22nd to the 24th, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Don't worry about this cost bucket. You leave it set to organization. Description's optional. You can put that if you want. And then just like when you were setting up your own application, you want to select where we're going to push this application out to. That's what decides which Amazon data center this gets launched up in. And then you will select yourself as the trainer for the class, which is really cool. And you'll select your time zone. I don't know where the heck you guys are. Sorry. I think you get the idea here. Let's see if I can find you. Wow, it's a lot of Americas. You're going to go teach in Copenhagen, Michael. Once you set up the top, then you just create the class. That's the first step. And then the second step, oh, I forgot to do something this morning. Let me see if I can do this real quickly here. Where was that at? I saw your email earlier, Michael. So what you're going to do is you're going to set up an Excel spreadsheet. I don't even think you need this, but I'm going to do it anyways, make that bold. You're going to set up an Excel spreadsheet with your students' information. And this is actually a good thing. Hopefully you guys will always have that information available. If not, you're going to start wanting to get that information available. And that's good for us because it gives us a lot more visibility in being who's being trained. And then you're going to save this Excel file as a CSV. CSV file. Then we'll go back over here to the training portal. So now that I've got the class, then I'm going to manage my students. I can import. You can actually add all your students here if you want. You don't need the Excel spreadsheet. I just think it's easier. But if you wanted, you could add them one at a time and put in their first name, last name, and email address. I'm going to import from that CSV that I just created. And it's not working. Uh-oh. We broke it, Michael. All right, I don't know why it's working, guys. Let me try the other one that I've got. I've done this a bunch of times and never had a problem with it.
Could be that I've left some spaces.
Maybe. You'll notice when you when it's done right, you'll get the import button, and then it brings in all those students. So again, you could do this manually, or you could do it with the Excel file. If you're having trouble with the Excel file, we'll try and get that figured out. And once you're done with that, then you're going to go ahead and save this again. So now I've got all my students. Now, and you can do all of this ahead of time. You could do this the day or 2 days before your class. So now let's say it's the morning of the class. This is something, what I'm going to show you right now, I recommend you do it about an hour before you get started, maybe before you leave the hotel, if you're at a hotel. What you're going to do is you're going to come over to the applications, and you'll notice it's already started up 3 applications, which look like this. If I go to my applications, I'll see those applications for each student. What you're going to want to do is start them. Select them all, start them. And again, that, just like the other application I launched up a little earlier, that takes 15-20 minutes for them to all start up, which is why I say do it early. And then you're going to click on this, Export Student Portal Links. That creates an Excel file that you can also save. Or you can, actually what I recommend is you email this, but the important thing here is each student gets their own link. So if you email this, they'll have this link, and what it'll look like for them is they'll come to this top level portal, and there's their jump box right there. It's telling this. I like this. It shows kind of a progress of it being started up. So once this is started, it'll all be green, and you'll see they have a little RDP link, and they just click on that, opens up the RDP, they log in, and they get started. It's really easy to use. I think after you've done it once or twice, it'll become very simple. So I do recommend, you guys are going to be our pilot, so we haven't actually used this yet in a live environment. I do recommend at the end of the first day, and I do believe I have this in my notes, the instructor notes, that you select all these and stop them, and then the next morning you select them all and start them again. Again, we don't want to leave them running all night long. And then at the end of the class, what will happen is we can come in, Michael and myself, we can come in and we can see all the classes that have been taught, how many students were in each one. We can select any one of them, and we can see the student list. So it really gives us a lot of great visibility, which is great on our end. So that's pretty much what I've got on Ravello. So the last thing I'm going to talk about, and then I'll pass back over to Michael, is for those of you that have been teaching the advanced security class, I am right now in the process of updating that for 2 things. Version 13, so everything will be in version 13, and a slightly revamped agenda. I shouldn't say slightly revamped, it's actually quite revamped. Since I put this together a year ago, and then I came out and taught it to you guys, I've done a lot of rethinking about what I felt was best suited for the partners, and most importantly, how to deliver ASM in a way that is very clear, so that when we're talking about the automatic learning, we're talking about trusted requests, we're talking about learning and staging. I wanted to make sure that it doesn't get lost on people, that they absorb that content. Also, if you're not aware, ASM and WAF has become one of the top initiatives here at F5. So with that being said, I made a couple of changes with the ASM training. I've revised the content a bit that I think will make that first couple of lessons better. So, and I've also split the automatic and manual learning and trusted and untrusted requests. That's its own lesson now, and then there's a supplemental exercise just for that content. And then you go into the learning and the staging, and then there's another module for another exercise for that. I've also expanded the ASM training to the first full day. Now, to go back to the question earlier about a one-day training for ASM, this would not be appropriate for a standalone one-day training for ASM because it does require that they have attended the 3-day partner boot camp. They need to have taken those first couple of lessons from ASM before they can come in here and take this. Otherwise, they're going to be incredibly lost with ASM. So that's the first change, is a revised content. I've added some new lessons. We still cover brute force, we still cover web scraping, but we still cover layer 7 DOS, but I added CSRF protection, parameter tampering, and geolocation enforcement. So we've got a few extra lessons as well. Then you may recall, as I said earlier, we removed the AFM from the 3-day partner bootcamp, and we now are covering AFM in this class. So the first half of the second day will be AFM and our layer 3-4 DOS. And then also we still cover WebSafe. We cover everything about WebSafe. What we removed is the big IQ. I felt very strongly, even though I created that, I felt very strongly that it just wasn't a security topic. And then we also removed the DDoS Hybrid Defender and the SSL Orchestrator. I just chose to do that because I didn't feel like we were covering them in enough detail, and it was really just a top-level overview. And quite honestly, just between us, the initiatives for those here at F5, they're kind of slowed down a bit, and I'd rather have you guys focusing on, kind of the direction of what we're really pushing for here at F5. SWG, I saw that note. Somebody asked about SWG. SWG is not really a big hot ticket item here at F5. I know it's a great product. I love it, but it's just not enough of a hot ticket item. And I saw another question about the DevOps, and I'll let Michael cover that because we do have something coming up for that. And I will look at credential stuffing. I saw that. I am worried that what I'm putting together might be more than a day because I haven't timed it out. So I don't know if we have time for a lot more. And I also don't have anything hands-on right now for credential stuffing. So I'd have to see if we could come up with something. I don't know if that's something that I have ready to go. It doesn't mean it can't be done. The other really cool thing about this is that I've combined all of the blueprints. There used to be 5 blueprints for this class. There's now 1. So 1 blueprint for all of the training for the 2-day advanced security class. I see that somebody has created a blueprint, and I'm not sure how that was done, but I don't want you guys creating blueprints. So just be aware that if I see blueprints being created, I'm going to delete them. Sorry. This is not, the only thing I want you guys creating is applications, not blueprints. So that's what I have to share. So we've got about 12 minutes left. First up, does anybody have any questions about the advanced security that we haven't covered, the Ravello, any of that stuff? Oh, you guys must have some questions.
Yeah. This is gonna. Have you thought about doing the advanced training within 3 days as well? So and then still do SSL Orchestrator and things like this, because we have a lot of customers for them it was the first chance to actually touch SSL Orchestrator. They might have seen it before in some presentations or webinars, but they haven't touched it. And I don't know, they were it was a good chance for them to get some hands-on.
Yeah.
So
well,
maybe we have an optional third day or something.
Yeah, we could do that. We could put in, we could still do the big IQ as and the VHD and SSLO as a third optional day. What I've gotten, the message I've usually gotten is that partners, don't really want to get away for 3 days. So even doing the 3-day partner boot camp is tough. So we didn't really want to make a lot of classes longer than a couple of days. But if it's an optional third day, that certainly is not outside the realm of possibility. My problem is I don't have a lot of resources here, so if I were to do that, I probably wouldn't update the DHD or the SSLO for any new release. I would just keep it as is, keep it the same, and just make it available for you guys. Have the content available. I'd probably create a supplemental lab guide as opposed to adding it to the existing lab guide. So I'm open to doing that. It's not a whole lot of extra overhead.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Chris, thank you very much. Hey, a lot of the topics have already been covered. So the 3-day partner bootcamp looks very nice. And we did touch that it is upgraded to version 13. Chris had beautiful examples of content. We have a new lab, and very, very interesting. We have over 40 ASM, and that is where we are going. Web application firewalling, that is F5's future. That's what we're aiming for. So the education plan behind it, the demos and the labs that are there. If you have time, have a look at them. If you want to see more on how things are being presented, the recordings are very, very interesting. The new Ravello domain, yeah, that really makes my heart tick because I really like it. Everything that's on this list, I think, has been more than addressed by Chris. I want to add 2 more things. We are just starting with it, so do you want to call it a pilot? Yes and no. We're starting. We're pretty confident that it is an improvement on what we have, but we are starting with only the 3-day partner bootcamp. So you have seen the advanced security blueprints and other things, but do not start using them in applications until you hear news from us that they are really finished and ready to be used. The 3-day partner bootcamp labs are tested and can be used. And from what I know from Serge and Manfred, they will start using them next week already. That is something I really wanted to share.
Michael?
Yes?
Just to clarify, because you said the 2-day partner bootcamp, you mean the 3-day partner bootcamp?
I meant the 3-day partner bootcamp.
Okay,
so thank you for that correction. Yes.
So sorry for I have a question. So what can we train others in? I couldn't really keep track.
Right now, you can train the 3-day partner bootcamp, as Chris has discussed it, with the new Ravello domain. We also still have the 2-day advanced security course. That one can also be taught. You only need the other old domain. So for the advanced security, you need somebody from F5 to spin up the portal for you. And for the 3-day partner bootcamp, you can all manage this by yourself. But those are the 2 instructor-led courses currently available.
And just to clarify, or not clarify, just to add to that, I anticipate being done with the updated advanced security probably within 4 weeks. And so once it's updated and it's tested, Michael will get out to you guys and let you know that the new one is available.
Thanks, Chris. Completely true. And only 2 topics on the roadmap. Where are we going to with the instructor-led curriculum? So Worldwide Field Enablement is currently working on a instructor-led NetOps course. So we are working on a course that focuses on automation and orchestration. It is an add-on on the course that you have maybe seen on the F5 University. And this is a course that we want to distribute towards our partners using distributor technical trainers. So we expect somewhere in April the first couple of train-the-trainer sessions. As soon as I have more information, I will start the invites and hope to see you in the Netherlands, London, Paris, Munich, and throughout the year we will organize a couple of sessions where we can really focus on transferring the knowledge, train-the-trainer sessions, so that you are able to redeliver this course. The second course, there is not that much that I can add because Chris already told you. The current advanced security course can still be given. Please do so if you have scheduled it for the next coming weeks or months, but be aware that within a period of 2 months, there will be an upgrade on the content and the course will migrate from the existing Ravello environment towards the new environment that you were just introduced to. Those were the 2 topics that I would emphasize in sharing with you. Are there any questions?
There's actually a couple of questions that I saw in the chat that we didn't address, and I just want to address them really quickly. So we've already covered, Emery asked, we've already covered that AFM is going to be covered and that we'll be able to do SSL. The videos, they are publicly available. They're on they're actually on the Chris Manley YouTube channel. I'm not opposed to you guys sharing those, but I would always rather you do instructor-led training because they don't get to do the hands-on exercises otherwise. Then I saw one. Whoops, too far. Manfred, I think hopefully you have the answer to your question now that you can access the environments, test everything for yourself. Covered that one already. Somebody's asking about ASM v13.1, and it's a good question. Right now I'm not planning on updating it. There's really, quite honestly, 13.1 has one feature, and that is the updated brute force protection, and which I think is a great feature. I don't feel like it's enough for me to go back and redo everything, because I'd have to basically redo everything, and everything else is going to be the same. All the UI is going to be the same. So I think it's okay to cover that, to talk about that. Already covered that. The hot topics, Manfred is asking, cloud and WAF. Those are the hot topics. Our move to the cloud and our support for cloud, and then WAF in the cloud and WAF everywhere. We're really trying to push WAF. That's probably one of the biggest things. That's what we got at our international sales conference this last year. And then Manfred also asked the network DDoS protection, and the network DDoS protection is going to be covered in the advanced security class for the AFM content. And Alphonse, yes, stop at the end of each day. When you're doing your trainings, stop all the students at the end of each day. And that's all I got. That's all the questions that I saw. There's one thing I wanted to share because I think it's important. You can share the blueprint with your students. You're absolutely welcome to do that, but they are going to need their own Ravello account. So any one of the blueprints, you can select. There's a little checkbox next to it, and then there's a way to share it with anybody. You just need their email address. and then they will open it up in their own Ravello account, and then they can run it themselves. But they need their own Ravello account. They're not getting added to this one.
Any other questions? Okay, if there aren't any questions, then I hope you all have liked what you've seen. We are convinced that it will help and improve or makes your lives easier. We also realize that it is new, so if there are any questions during the next coming days or weeks, because you are delivering, make sure to let us know. Send an email to Chris and myself, call me, and we're here to help you. Have fun redelivering.
I was going to say, it's great talking to you all. I look forward to seeing you guys again someday.